How's it going, my truant people? Dr. Slacking, the Slacking Doctor, back on Pokemon Showdown for the first week in the NPL Tryouts. And this week we're going up against my man Ultraplayer and his Philly Soldier, I believe it is. This is our first battle in the pools. We have 5 of them, so 4 more to come after this. Ultraplayer's channel should be linked down in the description. Definitely go check that out. I went and checked it out just before we played and was super impressed with his channel. I'm not going to lie to you, he makes very good content with some pretty high profile leagues and stuff. So definitely a channel I would recommend checking out. And also, when we get into this, I'm gonna slightly spoil the battle before some stuff happens in it, because I want to. This channel's always been about learning, and I think it would be easier to reflect on this battle if we can spoil certain things first. I'm not going to say either way, but because I think it's an interesting game with a lot going on. So if you want to watch the battle unspoiled, you don't want to know the result before you kind of see the replay, then I would recommend going over to his channel, where I'm sure he will kind of present it like a normal battle. But in our channel, we do things a little bit differently sometimes, and this one I think has got some like teachable stuff in it that we can kind of go over if we spoil things slightly in a weird way. So anyway, moving on from that, his team you can see here on the sticky note that I have up so that I could see it easy and you can see it easy. Landorus, Therian, Infernape, Scizor, Mega Altaria, Jolteon, Miltank, Mesprit, Garbodor, Vaporeon, Sceptile, and Spiritomb. I actually hated my matchup in this game. Usually I feel pretty confident with most matchups, but I just didn't like his triple priority. I didn't like that he had Infernape, Scizor, and Spiritomb. It might seem odd, but when we get onto my win con in this game, you'll kind of see why I didn't like that. So I kind of built my team around trying to stop that triple priority and trying to do something about that. The other threats he has are obviously Landorus, Therian is always a threat, Mega Altaria is always a threat, and you've got to find a way to break Miltank and Mesprit and these kind of mons too, and Spiritomb potentially. And Vaporeon, of course, wish passing into all of those mons. So I'm going to try and keep this quick. But moving on to my team, you can see here we have Metro the Keldeo. Now this set was a mistake. Basically, this was the original set I had made, and then we changed it because if you brought a special Altaria, you could just hit us with Hyper Voices behind the sub, which was a bit of a problem. And also we just kind of got walled by that thing a little bit. So what it was supposed to be instead was supposed to be Scold, Toxic, Taunt substitute. The idea is this thing just baits in the Vaporeon at all times or the Spiritomb, and then I get to sub up Toxic and Taunt them so they can't get any recovery, they can't do anything like that, especially the Vaporeon. We can just shut the Vaporeon down completely. Because I do think the Vaporeon is likely to come, and I do think it's likely to be his check to some of my offensive mons. So the idea was this would be Scold, Taunt, Toxic, sub. However, just before the game, I was having a conversation with Socrates, shout out to him for talking to me about the game, and we were going back and forth over this set, so I was changing it and changing it back, and I just left the wrong set in. So that's frustrating, but nevertheless, this is still a decent set with leftovers and a bulky Keldeo. We didn't bother speed creeping. Well, we didn't bother trying to speed match the Infernape. It's a speed tie with Infernape. I didn't think it was worth it, honestly. I didn't think he stayed in anyway, so I just speed crept the Lando. I could have gone modest, but I actually wanted the extra bulk, so I just went timid 252 and put the rest in HP. That way I could just be a little bit bulkier, take things like bullet punches from Scizor quite easily, and that kind of thing. Just another Scizor check. Scold, the reason that I only wanted Scold as coverage is if we go back to his team, you know, if we can get burns on things like the Landorus, the Infernape. Well, the Infernape doesn't take a Scold anyway, but the Scizor, the Mega Altaria that might want to come in if it's a Dragon Dance set, it doesn't want to get burnt, and even if it isn't, just chip on that thing is nice. You know, chip on Jolteon and everything else, so really just burn looks nice against this team. So that was what that was there for. Even with Secret Sword, it means we can break the Vaporeon now, so that's fine. We can still do some Calm Mind shenanigans. Next up, we have Mega Beedrill, Strumpful the Mega Beedrill. This is just a pretty standard Mega Beedrill set. It's absolute max speed because we outspeed Dragon Dance Altaria at +1 by 1 point. So we had to go max speed on this thing if I wanted a revenge killer to Dragon Dance Altaria, which I kind of did. I thought it was likely to be mixed Altaria if it came, or special Altaria. Nevertheless, I thought, well, I don't want to get swept by physical Altaria, so I'll bring something to check it just in case. So we have the Poison Jab on there to revenge it, Knock Off to catch the incoming Scizor, or maybe anything else that might want to have a Shed Shell, which I think Scizor, you know, is potential for the Doug Trio. So just things like that, knock off to kind of get rid of an items, or if the Scizor is banded, that could be a problem. I do think Scizor looks like his main switching to this, or Landorus. So for those two things, knock off looks really nice, because again, I'd like to get rid of whatever the Landorus is running. I do think a physically defensive Rocky Helmet Landorus could be possible, but Landorus kind of walls even without the defensive investment, so it could easily be offensive too. Drill Run is on here for the Infernape, which we outspeed if he's not Scarf, although I think it's unlikely. And then the U-turn, of course, just for momentum. Next up, now this is one of the most important members on this team. We have Has H and Harry, our choice Scarf Doug Trio. Now you can see this is a really bulky Doug Trio, nearly max HP with a lot of defense. The idea of this Dig Trio is we take like 2 Mach Punches from Infernape, so we can actually come in on Infernape, take a hit, and then we outspeed it guaranteed with the Scarf, and we get definitely kill with this attack investment, unless he's a really bulky Infernape, which I don't think is likely. I think he's likely to be Scarf Infernape if he's anything. So if he locks into anything other than Mach Punch, we outspeed him because we're Scarf. And if he locks into Mach Punch, we take 2 of them because of our physical investment, and we trap him. So I think we've got a really, really good chance of just switching in on Infernape whenever it gets in. As soon as it hits the field, just switching in, trapping it, and killing it. Which is really, really important for my sweeper, which I'll get onto in a minute. It's also pretty nice for Mega Beedrill, which is my kind of secondary sweeper in this game, potentially. Or my secondary cleaner, I should say, rather than sweeper. Toxic is on there just because if I want to come in on something like the Vaporeon later on, if I've already dealt with the Infernape, and I can't really touch the Vaporeon, then just getting a Toxic off might be worthwhile. Similarly, it's a Stealth Rocker for the same sort of reason. If I want to get in late game and I'm just Scarf and I can't really touch whatever I'm in on, but I can get Rocks up and that can get me the chip that I might need, then that's important too. And Memento is to try and help my setup sweeper, which we'll get to in just a second. Next up we have Bronzong. This is just a Fizz Def Bronzong. The idea being, if he does bring just physical Altaria, we completely wall it. I think he's likely to have the Fire Blast if he brings Altaria, but nevertheless, we're gonna bring this as a kind of secondary Altaria check. Like I said, the idea is we just revenge kill Altaria, whatever happens, or at least force it out and then get momentum and start breaking. But regardless, we can get a Toxic off. We'll definitely live a Fire Blast if he's like a bulky Altaria, so we can get a Toxic off. We can get a really big Gyro Ball off, and that's the kind of idea with this set, is that even on the slowest Altaria, Gyro Ball is still going to do sort of 70%, so we can wear the Altaria down, maybe hit with the Gyro Ball. This is my other rocker, but if I do have to just stay in and go for Gyro Balls on the Altaria, then that's what we have Haz H and Harry with the rocks as well, just to make sure that we get them up. And Toxic and Hidden Power Fire for the Scissor, because this thing can kind of wall Scissor. If he doesn't bring Knockoff, we can really take on the Scissor. Let's say he's a bulky set with like Bullet Punch, U-Turn, Roost, and any other coverage move, Superpower for example, or something like that. Then we can wall it kind of well with a Fizz Def set. He needs Knockoff to hit us. I did consider running Colbur Berry for that, but it just didn't seem worth it. So we're just going to go with this. And then Toxic to try and wear things down, as I say. And next up, this is kind of our sweeper here, Keanu Reeves of Porygon Z. The idea was, this could just break through his whole team if we got rid of that priority, and that's why I'm saying the priority is so crucial. At one point, I had like a trick ring target set for Spiritomb, which was pretty heat, but it just was pointless because Ice Beam breaks Spiritomb in 2 anyway, so it wasn't worth it. So we just got a Silk Scarf set here. The idea being, after an agility, we outspeed everything on his team, even Scarfers, and then we just plow through his team with Silk Scarf Boost to try attack. Going back to the team here, with enough chip on everything, they will just die. The only real threats are Banded Bullet Punch from the Scissor, which we can't take 2 of, and potential Mach Punches from the Infernape, which we don't want at all. But everything else, you know, we do pretty well against. Even Spiritomb, if it has a priority. Sucker Punch isn't going to do too much because we do have a little bit of bulk, so we'd have to be offensive Spiritomb to do a lot. So really, we just got to chip down his team a bit. That's all I'm going for. Just like 30% on every Mon, and then Porygon Z will do 70% to everything else, if I can get rid of that Infernape. So that's why Dig Trio is so essential here. And I've got to try and scout what the Scissor set is as well. And then last up, we have Old World Demandibus. This is our primary defogger because he does have that Garbodor that could try and hazard stackers. And he's got decent rockers in Mesprit and Miltank as well as Landorus, of course, which is a phenomenal rocker. It just means that we do have some hazard removal because I don't want him to be able to stack me and that be what breaks Porygon Z. So I want to make sure that we can kind of get rid of the hazards if we need to. And Mandibuzz seemed a premium defogger in this match. It can also take on Infernape a little bit. So if the Doug Trio fails for us, then we do have a secondary check. Brave Bird with the attack investment we have here always OHKOs a non-bulky Infernape, and we should have a good chance to kill a Sceptile as well. And this is our kind of Sceptile check because at the minute, if he brings physical Sceptile, with that defense, Beedrill doesn't really want to come in. So physical Sceptile could do a little bit. Elliot will obviously do a decent job against it, but just in case we have Mandibuzz here, and Mandibuzz can take on a special Sceptile as well, as he can't hit us with anything if he's special. We won't have Rock Slide or anything like that. So yeah, this is the kind of thinking with this team. Overall, I think the team was actually a solid build. I'm pretty pleased with this team. I think if we'd had the other Keldeo set, it would have been better. But overall, I still think it's a pretty solid build. So with that all being said, guys, let's jump into battle and see what he brought and see how the game went. So here we are in the battle, guys, and I'm shaking a little bit. I'm going to have to say this. I apologize if I seem a little bit off. I feel really nervous. You guys came through with so much support on the draft video. It meant so much to me, and I'm a little bit, like, tensing up again, like the first time I recorded. I feel like I haven't been doing this for so long at this point, but I guess it's just the jitters of being in a slightly, I don't know, bigger league and more people watching. I feel a bit nervous, so I apologise if I seem a little off, but I'm going to do my best to kind of commentate and keep true to what this channel's about with the commentary. So, looking at what he brought here, I was relieved to not see the Spiritomb, because that's one thing that really stops Porygon Z in its tracks that I don't have to break. I know that the Infernape has to go down if I'm going to position Porygon Z, and I know that the Scissor needs to be scouted. I need to know what kind of set that Scissor is. Can it 2-hit KO me with Bullet Punch? How much can it do with Bullet Punch? You know, can I set up on it even? I just need to know what's going on with this team to try and get Porygon Z in a good position to win this match, because Porygon Z really can just break this whole team here. I do think he's likely to be Fizz Def Vaporeon, 1 for the Mega Beedrill, and 2 for the Secret Sword of Keldeo, because obviously the water moves can't touch this Vaporeon, so I think he's likely to bring Fizz Def for those 2 reasons. I need to see what this Landorus is, and he needs to be careful that Landorus doesn't get set up. The nice thing about Fizz Def Bronzong is that unless he's a Gravity set, we kind of wall him. I did think a Gravity set was pretty likely in this game, but if he's a Gravity set, that means he can't be Double Dance, and then I have things to outspeed him. So, for example, if he is just Rock Polish, then he won't be able to kill Mandibuzz with the Stone Edge more than likely, and I can foul play him and do a good chunk there, and I can potentially get an Agility off from Porygon Z and then actually set up and sweep on that thing. And if he's Swords Dance, then Keldeo will always outspeed and do a number with Scold, and worst case scenario, Dugtrio and Beedrill can hit it as well. So if he is Gravity, it means he's not Double Dance, and then I'm slightly less worried, and if he is Double Dance, it means he can't really hit Bronzong unless he's like Smackdown Earthquake, but I don't think that's likely. So, with that all being said, looking at this matchup, I decided to leave with Mandibuzz. The reason being, there was nothing on his team that I didn't want to lead against apart from the Mega Altaria, and I didn't think it was likely he led Mega Altaria. My fear was that, you know, if he just led with Lando and tried like setting up, I might lose Mons very quickly. And if he, the only other thing that could maybe be a problem, I guess, would be like a setup Infernape, but then I could just foul play that as well, or Brave Bird it straight off the bat, in fact. So I feel pretty good leading with Mandibuzz, and I'm just going to attack whatever's in front of me and try and get some information. So he actually leads with the Scissor, and I'm just going to go for the foul play here because I'd like to know something about the Scissor set for Porygon Z. And we do 58% with that foul play. Now, I think my calcs are showing me that if this was 252 Adamant, sorry, I'm just going to grab my water, then that should have been doing over 60%. And that would be kind of like a 0 HP set. So at this point I'm thinking, well, 1, I'm faster than him, so he looks like he's bulky. But 2, that didn't do as much as I was hoping. So he maybe isn't that offensive. I'm not quite sure. It looks like he might have some attack investment, he might have some defense investment. This calc is sadly really unclear. And he just pivots out here with the U-turn. And I didn't calc this. I should have calced this because this would have given me some good information. But I just went off the foul play calc and kind of took it as, okay, so this is slow, bulky Scissor. And I was thinking that's actually quite good for Porygon Z because he's not like an Adamant band set. So, you know, as I say, I should have calced that U-turn damage because that would have been quite interesting. But I didn't, which we'll come back to, as I say, later in the battle. And here I just go out into the Bronzong on this Mega Altaria. There's no reason not to. I do think that it's likely to be a special set and it's likely to have Fire Blast, but I don't think he's going to make the read on this particular turn when he's just pivoted into it on the Mandibuzz. If I just Toxic him or something, he's not going to be very happy, so I think he's just likely to click Hyper Voice and see what happens. So I'm happy to go into Bronzong here. I can definitely take, I think I can still take 2 Fire Blasts at this range, because what we saw from this damage here is that this actually looks like a completely uninvested Mandibuzz, from what I can see. He did send me sets after the game, and I can't quite remember, not Mandibuzz, Altaria, sorry. But the Hyper Voice damage is not doing very much at all, so I'm thinking, okay, I don't think this is actually invested. I don't think this is like a modest set or anything like that. I think this is a really bulky Altaria. So I need to get some chip on this thing for Porygon Z, because bulky Altaria does take a hit pretty okay from Porygon Z. I need to get about 35% on this thing. So I'm not going to make any reads. I'm just going to go for the Gyro Ball. I could try and make a read and go for Stealth Rock, but there's no need. I have a backup Rocker in Dugtrio, and if he went for Fire Blast there, I'd feel pretty silly. He obviously pivots out, maybe fearing that I could be Ochre or something, and he sees... Oh no, he's seen the leftovers pop actually, so he just pivots out because I think he realizes that uninvested, he's not going to kill me. I go back into Mandibuzz on the Scizor, and now I'm just stuck in the cycle. Unfortunately, he's got momentum, and I'm not in a good position. If I go back into Bronzong here, he just probably Hyper Voices on the switch, and then he goes into Scissor, and then he U-turns, and he goes back into Mega Altaria, and I'm just we're just going around in circles at this point. So I could have stayed in on the scissor with Bronzong, and I maybe think I should have done that, but I was fearing the knockoff, and I didn't want to get caught with that, especially as I just needed to keep some sort of check to this thing alive. So here I don't want to risk Bronzong, it doesn't seem worth it. I'm just going to sack Mandibuzz, and I think this was a misplay because Mandibuzz still really helps with the Scizor and the Infernape. Losing him on early is really rough, but I'm just going to go out into the Beedrill. I was kind of hoping he might over-predict with the Mandibuzz, but he doesn't. And we just go for the Poison Jab here, and I'm starting to get a handle on how he's playing. He's playing pretty safely, making the safe switches. It's early game, he's not going to take any risks, and I think that's the correct play. So I'm just going to U-turn out here as he fires off the Wish. And here I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, so, you know, he could try and switch into the Mega Altaria, for example, but if I just pressure him here, I don't know. I feel like what he might think is fairly risk-free getting the Vaporeon wished up. Because the Vaporeon is so low, I feel like he'll want to preserve it. I feel like he'll want to keep it around. So I'm just going to go for the sub here, expecting him to go for the Protect maybe, or the Toxic maybe. But he actually does go hard Mega Altaria, just figuring that he wants to get the offensive momentum back. So this is me just kind of making a misread on my opponent. I'm trying to get a little bit cheeky with the sub. So now I'm trapped behind the sub, and I know he can hit me with Hyper Voice. And this is an interesting term because I knew he could hit me with Hyper Voice, and I'm very concerned about this. But I know I can take one if I get a Calm Mind off. And if I get a Calm Mind off and I Scold, I know that he will then be in Porygon Z range. So I have this kind of trade-off where I can get the chip that I need on this thing and get momentum back with Mega Beedrill to make sure that Porygon Z can break this Altaria. And I'm kind of like, or I could try and go hard into Bronzong and potentially risk a Fire Blast. And if he goes for the Fire Blast, he's probably not even going to break my sub. I don't think he can go for the Fire Blast, mind you. But I'm still in a weird position, and the reason that it's such a weird position is because this is a battle that's being watched, and I'm being assessed for the league to see whether I get in or not. And I don't want them to think that I don't know that sound-based moves go through sub. So I'm like, I feel like my best play is to stay in, Calm Mind, I guarantee live 1, I get 30% on this thing, Porygon Z then beats it one-on-one later on, it doesn't get any attack off on me. But I feel like that looks like a bad play to everyone else that doesn't know what I'm doing, so I'm kind of like caught in two minds, and I'm like, do you know what? You got to play the long game. You know, you got to not worry about this kind of thing. So just go for the Calm Mind. I know I'm going to take this, and this is where I kind of said about the Keldeo set, because here, this is where I realize I have the wrong Keldeo set. I have no idea until this turn when I bring it in, and I'm like, where's Toxic? I wanted Toxic here, because what I would have done is I would have just fired off a Toxic this first turn. Even if he went for Protect, that wasn't an issue. This thing was never going to do anything to me ever, so I would have just Toxic'd it. But he didn't. He went into Altaria, and then I would have got the Toxic on Altaria, so it was just a safer play to click Toxic. So that's why I'm a little bit like, I wish I had the set that I wanted. But you know, that's my mistake and my error, so I'll completely stand by it. So here I'm just like, yeah, we're going to stay in because I'm frustrated by the fact that I haven't got the right Keldeo set, if I'm honest. And I'm just like, you know what, I haven't even got the right set. This thing is going to be infinitely walled by this Altaria. Let me get a Calm Mind off. Let me fire for Scold. See if I can snag a burn and get some residual damage on this thing. And just put it in range. And we actually only get 22%, so we don't get a lot. This is a really, really bulky Altaria. But with that burn chip, that is going to be about the range that we need for Porygon Z now. Especially if I can get rocks up later in the game, this thing will die to Porygon Z, Silk Scarf, I'm pretty confident. So I'm just going to go for the knockoff here, I believe, hoping that he might go into the Scissor. And we just go for the Poison Jab. In fact, we just play it safe, no risks. Again, I think I was just trying to play safe this game. And we go out into Elliot as he clicks Gravity, and I'm like, okay, I thought this might come, but I know I can take one Earthquake. As I say, Altaria is nearly in range where Porygon Z breaks it. All I need is the Rocks Up, and I'm looking at the rest of this team, and I'm thinking, right, if I can trap Infernape, bear in mind at this point, I'm thinking this is like a bulky Scissor set, not that offensive. If I can trap the Infernape, Porygon Z sweeps it. Porygon Z breaks everything with Rocks Up. The only thing that will live one is the Mesprit after Rocks damage. And I don't think a defensive Scissor Bullet Punch plus an attack from Mesprit is likely to break me. Especially if it's a defensive Mesprit, which on this team composition, it looks very likely. Now I've seen Lando as offensive. I'm pretty sure this is going to be defensive Mesprit. So I'm like, I'm going to get Rocks Up because it does two things. One, it gets the chip on everything that I need to get the chip on. And two, it psychs him out, because now when he kills me here, he's going to be surprised that A, I haven't gone for damage, and I'm going to go fast into Porygon Z. So it looks like I'm happy to sack this thing for rocks, because Porygon Z is just going to revenge kill this Landorus. So I'm really just bluffing Scarf here, because this Landorus outspeeds me, and it's going to really, really hurt if it goes for Earthquake, but I know that I can bluff this, and this is the point where I got frustrated in the game. I haven't actually spoiled anything at this point, which I'm surprised, so I apologize for saying I was going to spoil it earlier in the video. I thought I would, but apparently I haven't. I knew that I hadn't been playing risky enough. I hadn't got spicy with them at all. I'd just been making like boring plays. I hadn't made any reads. I hadn't made any attempts to get anything in his head, and I was like, I've got to do something, because I'm going to lose this game. I've got 3 Mons versus 6. I'm going to lose this game unless I get a little bit spicy with him. So I'm just going to bluff the Scarf and go for the Tri-Attack. There's no point in going for the Agility just yet, because the Infernape is still around, and that thing's going to kill me with Mach Punch. So as he actually goes out into the Infernape, and I'm like, okay, lock into Mach Punch, Dugtrio takes it, and anything else you do, I outspeed you with Scarf. So he goes for the Flame Charge, and I'm like, we eat that. I now outspeed you with Scarf, and I guarantee to kill you with the Earthquake. The other reason that I really wanted to get the Rocks up with Bronzong is in case this thing was Sash. So now I know that he hasn't got his Sash intact, so Dugtrio definitely beats him. Whereas, for example, here, if he had a Sash with the +1 Flame Charge, he could have close combated me and could have caused some trouble to my team. So we're in a good position here, and I'm like, that's fine. Now he's probably going to bring something else in. He's going to go out at the Landorus, and I'm like, that makes sense, because he could have been the Mesprit, or it could have been the Landorus, because I've shown him that I'm Scarf. So he's going to bring in a Earthquake immunity for sure. I'm okay with that. So now I have some difficult decisions to make. I need to sack something to try and get Porygon Z in to sweep here. But I also need to be very careful of the Scissor in the back, because I can't take too much damage, or a combination of Scissor, Bullet Punch, and Mesprit Living One is going to kill me. So I need to just be a little bit tricky with this. So I'm going to go hard into Mega Beedrill, trying to sack the Mega Beedrill. The idea being that he would have killed Mega Beedrill, then I would have gone back into the Dugtrio, I would have clicked Memento on this thing, I would have got my agility off, hopefully on him switching out, because he's been Mementoed, and if I could have forced him out, then I could have been in a good position, or I could have even just tried to bluff the Scarf, Tri-Attack again, and gone for the agility, forcing him out. I had a couple of ways that if he just killed my Beedrill here, I could have got maybe my agility off for free by forcing out this Lando. So unfortunately, he actually goes for the U-turn and doesn't kill us, which gets the Scissor inside, and I'm like, okay, well, let's see how much the Scissor does. The Bullet Punch kills. It's worth noting that the crit here with the U-turn that you guys may have noticed, this makes no difference at all, because I now know his Scissor set. It's completely irrelevant. Beedrill is paper thin. Like, its defenses are so flimsy that we're dying here regardless. So this Bullet Punch pops off and we go down. And I'm like, okay, we've got to go Dugtrio. We've got to see if we can get a Memento off. That's my best play here for sure, is to just try and get a Memento off. We don't get one off, and I'm like, right, okay, so I'm going to go out into Porygon Z. And my issue here is I can Tri-Attack and kill this thing. But if I Tri-Attack and kill this thing, I don't outspeed the Landorus. So when the Landorus, because I've seen the Landorus from the damage that I did with Beedrill with the Poison Jab earlier, I've seen that this Landorus has no bulk. So it's definitely just like speedy, offensive Landorus. So it's going to outspeed me because I am so slow, because I'm an agility set. So I'm like, I have to set up on this thing. All I'm going to do is save differential. I can Tri-Attack here and guarantee to kill the Scissor because I'll live 1 Bullet Punch. But I've got to hope that he's a defensive Scissor and that I can actually live 2 Bullet Punches and that I kind of crit the Mesprit, or he's a really flimsy Mesprit set somehow. So we go for the agility and he does 67%. And that really hurts. As I say, I could have saved a differential point, but I don't care about differential. I really don't. You've got to go for game if you have even an off chance of going for it. So Keanu Reeves goes down and we do lose this one. And the reason that I said there's some really teachable moments in this, which I didn't really talk about at the beginning because I just wanted to get into it in the end, is that going into this game, I was so nervous. Just like I am recording this. I was so nervous about playing Ultraplayer. I watched his YouTube channel. I was so impressed with his videos. I was so impressed with his draft that by the time this battle started, I was shaking. I did not have my head in the game. I brought the wrong Keldeo set. I was a mess. And not just because of that, he played superbly, but partly because of that, I got completely outplayed here. Like I said, I didn't take a risk until that last little bit where I scared out the Lando and I made a bluff and I made some plays and I nearly had a chance after that. But earlier in the game, like not calcing the scissor U-turn, not doing the things that I would normally do, just down to nerves, really cost me. And that's what I think is a really teachable moment here for you guys watching, because this channel has always been about learning together. I've never claimed to be the best Draft League player, and this channel's never been about that. This channel has always been about trying to learn more as we, play Draft League. I think that it's important to remember sometimes when you play, you are only playing the game in front of you. You're playing the 6 mons the other person has and the 6 mons you have. You're not playing like the occasion. You're not playing the status of another player, the reputation of another player. It's just the 6 mons on each team, and that's it. And sometimes it's hard to remember that. It's something that I've found throughout my Draft League career. I tend to get very nervous when I play people like Stromful, when I play people like Checkmate Ben, like Socrates, like Ultraplayer here. I get very nervous and I freeze up and I don't play my usual game. When I play people that I know so well and intimately, like Nico, then it's easy because I play him all the time and I know Nico and I'm not as intimidated by him despite him being a tremendous battler. So I guess this lesson in a weird way isn't about the mechanics of Pokemon. I sound like I'm preaching. I sound like this is some preachy video, but it's just about, like, if you're ever in this position, if you're ever, trying to do anything like this, where you're stepping out of your comfort zone, where you're trying to mix in a circle where you feel a little bit like you don't belong, where you feel a little bit like, like you're trying to catch up, you got to get over that. You got to get over that, and I will get over that for the next week. The next battle, I will be over these nerves. I will be back to playing my way, and I will give a better account of the Bowland Bovines and the channel that you guys support and the team that you guys support, because I want to do you guys proud, So I apologize for this loss, but I give absolute props to Ultraplayer because he played superbly. I mean, he can only play the player in front of him. I didn't play particularly well, and he demolished me as a result of that. But the positives to take away from this are, had we got a little bit better turns and a little bit better sets with us, I think we had a very good chance here. I think Porygon Z maybe could have won this game on a different day with some different plays. So next week we come back, or next game we come back, and we try and do better. The next game should be up on Saturday. I'm hoping this has gone up on Wednesday. So the next game should be up on Saturday, and that is going to be against Bash if all goes to plan. I like my matchup against him a little bit more. This was my worst matchup. That's why I wanted to get it out of the way first and foremost. So hopefully that game goes a little bit better. All that being said, guys, this is a very rambly ending. Like I say, please do go check out Ultraplayer's channel because he makes superb content and he deserves even more support than he already has, because fantastic videos over there. And let me know what you think of this battle down in the comment section. You can shout at me that I played like crap, and that's fine. I'll still, heart your comment and say thank you. And next week, we will bounce back. So thank you so much for loafing around with me, and I'll catch you again next time.